Out of one of your 2x6 12-foot pieces, you can do all 4 of your legs. I've got a template made because I've been doing so many of these. Set your chop saw, miter saw, whatever. Set it to 30 degrees. Can't really see it. But anyway, set it to 30 degrees. Cut your angle. Slide your wood down. From point to point is 34 inches. You can go longer, shorter, whatever. This is what I've been doing. 34 inches anyway. And both angles are 30 degrees. Cut that. You'll get 4 pieces out of one 12-foot board, and you'll have a little bit left over. Alright, I've got several of these made up. These are your legs. For your braces, you're going to cut these from the 90-degree angle on both ends. It'll be 4 foot 10 inches and a half, and you're going to cut those at 90, and you'll cut the 45s on the ends. I've got a jig set up to make them. You don't have to do it, but I'll give you the measurements in just a second on where you need to put them. My jig looks something like this here. It's not pretty, but it's a lot easier having a little jig. Alright, if you measure from the point up, it'll be about 9.5 inches off the bottom. You're going to measure the same thing on the other side. And then if you come off the top of the seat support till the leg, you're at about 13 inches. So that should give you your measurements. Okay, after your table has dried and your legs are dried, put your legs up here. These clamps right here work nice. I have 2 of them. You can do it without it, but it's going to be a lot easier having a clamp. Set your legs up there. Take your tape measure, and every one of these are going to vary. Take your tape measure and measure from the end to the point right there. On this table here, they're about 5 1/4 inches off the ends. Just split the difference. If it's 5 1/2 on each side, or 5 and 10 on each side, 5 1/4, whatever. Just split the difference. You don't have to do it, but I've been using glue on a lot of these. I'm trying to make them last as long as I can. You don't have to use glue. If you're going to use glue, just take a pencil and just mark off on the wood where the wood's gonna sit, so you know where to put your glue at. After I've got my legs out of the way and I've got it all marked, just put your glue up here where you've marked it. And it don't have to be pretty. Okay, now after you put your legs up there, just try to wipe off the extra glue. And some more is going to run out, I promise you that. You want to get your drill and your long drill bit. And if you can look right here, you got the sets of screws here and here. You're going to want to drill 2 holes for your bolts in between those 2 screws. What I've found with these drill bits, especially drilling through a lot of wood, put it up there, run it in a little ways, pull it out, let the sawdust come out with it, and then run it back in and keep doing that. And it'll go in a lot easier, and you'll have a lot cleaner cut with it. Okay, now after you've got all 4 of your holes drilled, you want to come back to the other side. Put your bolts in here and hit them through with a hammer on all 4 of them. Alright, after you get all your bolts through, you want to put on your washers and your stop nuts on all the bolts and tighten them down. Okay, after you get your bolts tightened up, you want to do the exact same thing to the other side. Also, it's important that when you're drilling your holes to make sure you're using a drill bit the same size as your bolt, because there's a square notch right here in your bolt, and if you go bigger, then this square notch is not going to fit in the wood like it needs to. If you run into the problem even using the correct one, or you can't find a drill bit the same size as your bolts, all you got to do is take you a pair of vice grips and just lock onto the head here. After you beat it in as far as you can, just lock it onto the head and put your nut and your bolt on the other side and tighten that down. Alright, when you go to cut table supports, set your saw up to 0 degrees and then turn it to right at 45, and it don't have to be perfect. It does not have to be perfect. I've already got some pre-cut, but anyway, you'll just cut that. You have to turn your board over. From the point here, measure down to 2 foot, make your line, and then cut again at 45. Okay, after you got both your legs on the table, you want to take a measure off the end, off the 90-degree angle, down to 29¼ inches. That'll be your halfway mark. Take your square, put up there, and draw your line. Do that on both sides, and then when you go to put your table supports up there, you know to get it centered, and then get it centered on the board in the center of the table. Pre-drill your holes, and you can mark out your spots for your glue. Just use a pencil, trace it out on both ends. Do the same thing to both sides. When you're cutting your seats, you're going to take a 12-foot board. You're going to cut it to 5'11.5" inches. Once you've cut both pieces to that, you're going to set your saw up for 45 degrees. Take the square. I know you cannot see it in the video. Take the square anyway and mark it at about 2 3/4. Once you've marked it at 2 3/4, just put it up there on your saw and just cut straight across. You want to do this on both ends, but make sure it's on the same side of the board. Okay, now once you've got your seats cut, they'll look like this when they're going to be put on. You want to take your inside board, turn it over, and pull your tape off of your 90-degree angle on the end. And you want to mark this at 2'11 3/4 inch. Now this here is the same center mark as the center of this board on the table. After you've marked that, put your square up here and just trace your line. Alright, you want to start with your outside seat. Now just measure your ends from the inside of the seat support, which should be right there, to the outside here. They're going to range, they're going to vary, because you're not going to get the seat supports and the table completely square. So one side might measure one thing, one side might measure the other, but you're not going to notice it. So just take your tape measure and stick it on the bottom side, and mine is about 10 1/4 or so, and I've got that on the other side as well. They're both 10 1/4 hanging over. What I normally do is just feel that the edge of the seat is just sitting over the end of the seat support. You don't have to do that, but I like the way it looks. You can come out further with it, you can go in further with it, whichever you want to do. I guess it's about maybe 2 or 3/16 sitting over the edge of the seat support. If you want to glue your seats, just take your pencil, mark where your board's going to stop at, and you can put you some little faint little lines up here where you need to sit it back at, so you can get it almost back in line when you go to put it back down. Alright, after you got your glue up there and you got it all marked out where you need it, just pre-drill you some holes. We're only going to put 2 on each side, or 2 on each side of each board. So you have one at the top, one at the bottom. Just don't go too close to the edges on it. And try to keep them in a halfway straight line to make it look halfway decent. But do that to both ends to put your screws down. Alright, after you got your outside seat screwed down and glued down, you want to take your inside seat, stick your carpenter pencil in there. That's about 1/4 inch. Do that to both ends. And you want to line up these ends so they're about straight. And they might not be exactly perfect, but just split the difference up on them. And again, you can mark them and glue them, pre-drill your holes and put your screws in. Do the same thing to the other side of the picnic table. Okay, this is the final step of building the picnic table. Your line that you put on your inside board, you want to take your square, line up to that, and draw you a line all the way across both of the boards. Alright, once you got your line marked, you want to take your 9-inch block of wood, turn the crown up, it'll go against the wood up. Take it, flip it over, go ahead and put you some glue up there, put it on the seats and just split the difference between this end and the other end, and use your line to square up the wood so it'll be about center. Okay, once you got your wood up there, just take your clamps and clamp down both pieces of wood. And put it in about the center of the board. Pre-drill you 4 holes on each side. Just one top there, here, there. Put 4 in each seat. Once you pre-drill all those, put 4 screws in there. Do the same thing to the other side, and you have a completed picnic table. After you have all 8 of your screws in there, it'll look like this. Just, make sure that you don't run a screw up in the crack there. When you make the tables, you don't have to use carpenter pencils like I've been doing. You can stick a 1/4 in here, just actual 1/4, and that'll be a smaller gap, or you can make a large gap, however you want to do it. But that's the finished product. Hope y'all enjoyed the video.